up, get out right out of your bed, that's your quicksand. Getting rid anxiety and head, you can fix it. Rid of stigmas, all of them you said, we ain't listening. Just remember, try to do your best, you can win this. Maurice Benard, State of Mind.
All right, this is State of Mind, and how's it going? Thank you. You can, if you want to hit the red button, it's right here. Hit the red button, subscribe. Can we get to, look, I know I keep pushing for this stuff, and it's only because it improves the show. So if we get to 200,000, I'll shut up. And then we'll get to 1 million, and then whatever. Anyway, just hit the button. So who I have today, I'm a little nervous, got to be honest. It's like royalty. This actress family is truly the bomb. The bomb. They're so well respected. And, you know, what they've done for soaps, daytime TV, you can't compare. And I know I'm on General Hospital, and I can't. Why did you talk about, you know, Young and the Restless? And so, no, but it's true. It's great. And this actress is incredibly talented, and she doesn't know, but I used to watch her when I was young. I thought she was great, because she is great. She was great. And her family's great. Who is it? LAURALEE Bell. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, that is so sweet. Can I just say that how you reached out to me?
Yes.
You popped up in my DMs. And you said, hi, my name is Maurice. And I was like, oh my God. First of all, I was just, if you only knew how many times at the Emmys I'd see you walk in, I'd be like, oh, there he is, there he is.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I wrote back, yeah, I know who you are. I'm a huge fan. And so don't be nervous. I'm a fan of yours. How about this? We'll both be nervous together.
We can be nervous together, right? Yeah, you know, I've done a lot of these, like I told you. And I just reached out to like a ton more people. Yeah. And not, you know, I'm still waiting on quite a bit, which is, it's fine. You don't want to come on State of Mind, you don't get the love. But you reached out, and I was like, dang.
No, I think I answered in like 30
Yeah, it was
seconds.
great. It was great.
And then I was like, oh. Then, yeah, I think it was at night, and then I didn't hear from you till the next morning. And I was like, oh, maybe he's decided not to.
Absolutely.
Maybe I scared him off.
Absolutely.
But we're all fans of each other.
We are, yeah. I had Sharon just on.
I know, I saw it.
And I've had Patrick. I've had Eric Braden.
Yes.
Many. I can't remember. You know,
The gang.
Yeah.
The gang. Have you ever had Christian LeBlanc?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, you know.
Days of Our Lives are the ones that just kind of like, no thanks.
How could anyone say no to you? I mean, I just...
Hey, and you know what? It's like, this is a kind of show, I love talking like this. This is a kind of show where it's all positive. And I'm not just saying that because it's my show. If you read the comment, I don't think there's anything I've ever gotten in 4 years that was negative. So actors that don't want to come on, I don't understand. But then somebody says, well, they don't want to talk about mental health. Mm-hmm. You don't have to talk about anything. Right. Talk about what you want. I told you already. Yeah. So anyway.
That's the fun of it, though. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll talk about everything. And like that's what's so great about it. That's
what I love about doing this, because I don't know what I'm talking about. I mean, I do got a notepad here. But a lot of times I start here, start there, start there. So we're going to start.
Okay.
What's it? I want to talk about this short film you did.
Oh. My Promise. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Being cricket, this is, I mean, the ironic thing about this is I was always part of summer storylines that were like message storylines.
Right.
And it was always, it's okay to say no, or my mother passed away from AIDS on the show, the date rape. We always dealt with message storylines. And I would say, like to myself, like, oh, I'm seeing on As the World Turns, like Lily and Dusty, Martha Byrne and Brian Bloomer, Lily and Holden are like hanging out in the hay bin, and they're doing that, and we're, preaching. But my father really felt strongly about, we have this great audience in the summer, we have to use this opportunity to teach. Okay, that's the pre.
Love
the
that.
pre
Love
thing.
that.
So as my kids got older, cell phones were becoming really a big deal, and they were close to getting their driver's license. And I was like, oh my God, I mean, I don't trust anyone to not glance at their phone while they're driving. I just don't. So I was making a bunch of web series, and I just thought,
What is a web series?
I mean,
Is it just
shorter,
Okay. Yeah.
multiple. It can kind of be whatever you want it to be, but I knew that young people had a short attention span. So I was like, I'm going to make a story about not texting and driving in a way that's almost like these two young people fell in love. She was texting, or she got a message from him. Long story short, she crashes, and this is the result of. And then she's in the hospital, and she kind of is really out. But I have her kind of sit up and say, if I could have just done this again, I would have never, I never would have texted. I want my whole life. I'm just about to. I'm just at the beginning of my life. I wish I could take that moment back. So I made a 6 series, 3 to 4 minutes each, of my promise to basically say, like, I don't know if anyone's going to see this. I don't know, but if my kids will watch this and they'll like take away one thing about it, I don't know. They really never talked about it so much as if ever I even like had my phone there and I just bleep, you kind of even look over. She'd be like, "Don't look at your phone," and I was like, "Okay, well then, what? I'm good with that." Like.
Yeah.
So I just felt compelled, and I don't know if it was sort of a replay of my father instilling this, like, whenever you have the opportunity to teach while you entertain, do it. So I put that one out, and we were lucky enough to.
You got awards, right?
Yeah, we won an Emmy for it, which was amazing.
Look at you.
Well, and it was a very, very nice surprise. That's not why I did it, but it was great. And I always think about making more, but I love to work, so I can't sit down. I can't if I'm not at Y&R.
You're always.
My mom was the same way, and I would say to her, "Can't you just sit? Can you sit down? Can you just sit down?" And she'd be like, "Yeah," and she would for about 2 minutes, and then she'd get up. I'm the same way.
That's the way my wife is.
Yeah.
I was just talking about my wife, where she can't. I said to my therapist,
Okay.
my wife can't do anything for herself. She's on the go 100 miles an hour because I believe if she stops, she doesn't want to hear the silence that's going to happen. So she doesn't stop.
Right.
I've known her for 40 years.
Yeah.
And she, and eventually, I don't know if she ever will, but sometimes you get sick
Right. Sure.
because it's too much,
Yeah.
right?
Right. It's a lot. My parents were very positive, so I try and look at every day with like what's going to happen today. But yeah, I mean, this world right now is like it's a lot. So
It's a lot, yeah.
So maybe that is it. Maybe it is just just keep busy. We have dogs, so it's like just always someone's. There's just
What kind of dogs you got?
we have labs.
Oh, you
We have
got
2
labs.
right now. We just lost one of them, but we've always had a lot of dogs, which is great.
We have 8.
You do okay.
Way too many, man.
No, it's not. I'm just like, when I said, okay, I'm like, oh, lucky you. I watch these Instagram things where, I just want to go save them all. And I just,
I know.
This morning, it's always around 4:30 or 5. I think they want to make sure that if I move or get up, they won't miss it. So I'm always contorting. One's at the head, one's at the hip. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I just, dogs are everything.
Look, we have alpacas, we have goats, we have 8 dogs, we have cats, we have snakes.
Oh, you do? There's where I get a little creeped out.
Yeah. Now, I do want to get a mini donkey. I think that's
that
next.
would be great.
I love a little mini donkey.
Fantastic.
But the dogs sometimes.
It's a lot. So anyway, that adds to the not sitting down, I'm sure.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot going on.
There you go.
Just energy. Whoosh.
Right.
Love me. Love me.
Exactly.
Feed me.
Exactly. I'm sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we? So, I wrote a book, right? And about my life. So I'd like to know about from your life, and take me on that journey, because it had to be an incredible kind of life since you were a little girl.
Yeah. I mean, we grew up in Chicago, so it was very removed from here. My mom had a talk show in Chicago. She was the one on TV. We couldn't go anywhere without.
Really?
She was, they would call her like the Oprah of Chicago because she had the talk show right before. Oprah was in Chicago as well, and they were friends. But she had, her family was in the flower business, and a very long story short, they asked the flower shop to arrange flowers on the news. And my uncles didn't want to do it, so my mom was asked to do it. She did it. She had to do it backwards to the camera, arrange flowers. It was such a success. Long story short, they gave her her own show. So it was the Lee Phillips show, then I think it was Miss Lee, then the Lee Phillips show, then Noon Break. At the beginning, she would run off and do her own commercials with the soapbox and Sarah Lee, So anyway, she was the famous one. And my dad would sit at a typewriter. My parents were always at home. She would leave while we were at school, do this crazy thing of interviewing multiple guests, have to read books at night, interview them the next day. But my dad was always at the typewriter. So there was something very comforting about that. He was always there.
But did you know at that time what he was really typing about, or he's just typing?
Yeah, he's typing. Well, the show started in 1973. I think I started watching probably around 76. So yeah, I would come home from school and I would want to watch the show. Jump forward maybe 10 years. I was so fascinated by the show and by my dad's phone call at the end of the show. He would pick up the phone, call this person in Los Angeles, and do this 20-minute phone call of, here's what I loved about the show, here's what could have been different. Mostly always positive. I loved that phone call. So what I did was planted thermometers all around our house, around 100 to 101, to try and say I don't feel good, ask for a blanket. They would go, and I'd switch the thermometers, and they'd think I'm sick and then I can't go to school. And I would, oh, great, I get to go and listen to this phone call again. Well, it ended up being like over a month. So then I was at the doctor, they're having me look at pictures. Do you see the sun or do you see the devil or what do you all these things. They thought I was literally like crazy. But I found that this phone call was more exciting to me than school. It was,
And
great.
what grade were you in?
I was in 6th grade.
Damn.
Going back to school after missing a month and a half was extremely difficult because I got all the teasing of, who are you again? And do you still go here? And so if I were to do it again, I would not do that. But those phone calls were everything to me because then I'd go back and watch the show and see what he was talking about.
Oh.
So like, oh, he thought this person should have been angrier, or this person should have they should have held the kiss longer, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh my gosh, he's right, or that's cool, or, so that was so anyway, I had we were very routine. We had cheese, salami, and tomato soup and noodles on Sunday, meatloaf on Monday.
And you lived in
broccoli
Chicago.
we knew what we were, that was comforting, I guess.
Okay.
And then on weekends, we would go to Wisconsin, Lake Geneva. And as we passed through Lake Geneva, or to Lake Geneva, was a town called Genoa City. And that's how my
No.
yeah. So, and people are like, I have to see this Genoa City. Where's Mrs. Chancellor? You know, and it's literally, I think, like a mile long. And there's really, you know, it's a beautiful town. I'm not saying it's not. It's just not at all what we make it out to be. So, yeah, very normal childhood.
Now, okay, so it's normal childhood now.
Okay.
But at some point
Yeah.
when you were young, there must have been a party, right?
Yeah.
And maybe Eric Braden's in the living room.
Yeah.
And hi, LAURALEE, how are you?
Yes, right.
Okay, and did that ever happen or any of that stuff? These actors are there.
Occasionally they would come to Chicago, yes, because story conferences would happen in our living room. And so occasionally, yes, they would come and we'd be out to dinner. I wouldn't really be invited to that, but every year as we got to a certain age, we would make a trip out to LA and go to the anniversary party. I mean, my dad was so out of touch. Like back then you couldn't really see dailies or anything. Like it was all, we would have a Xerox machine just going all day, every day, layers, 8 layers of scripts. And then FedEx guy was there every day.
Damn.
It was crazy. And then he would just get those massive, cassettes for audition tapes or anything like that. So yeah, we would come out once a year, go to the cast party, have the best time, and then just have to go back until one day. I had then around 13. Well, at 11, he said, you know what? I'm going to put you in as an extra because I want you to understand what I do. Like, this is hard work. This is not easy. There's so many people on set. There's an enormous crew. There's an enormous cast, and there's lines to learn, and all of these moving parts. So I was in the airplane with David Hasselhoff, one row back.
No.
And I sat there, and he said his lines brilliantly, and they said, "Thank you, moving on." And my response to my father was, "Wow, that was so fun and quite easy. Easy." I didn't say quite. That was so easy. And he looked at me and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, you got exactly not the impression that I wanted you to get because this is anything but." So a couple of years passed, and then there was a company called Jabot Cosmetics on the show, run by the Abbotts, and he said, "You know what? We're just gonna. There needs to be a Jabot Junior. I had a hard time saying it back then. I still have Jabot Junior model. We're gonna put you on for 2 days. That'll be it. You'll see what this is all about." And I did the 2 days, and it was pretty great. And I said, if I work really hard, if I go back to Chicago and take acting lessons and singing lessons, do you think maybe we could do 2 more days? He said, "I don't know, we'll see." And my mom's just like, "Nope, she's going to go to college. She's going to be a tri-adult." Like, nope. So the great thing about back then for me and for Trisha Cast and any young person that came on shortly after was that 23 to 25-year-olds were playing 13-year-olds. So
Really?
when I was really 13 playing cricket, I got very fortunate by having women writing in and saying, my kids are always around me when I'm watching the shows. And it's so cool. They stopped running around and they sat when they saw a young person. So this is really great. So hopefully you'll keep on with the young people. That was helpful.
Yeah.
And I was not good. Okay, so like these women were, and men and whoever. It was just a very nice thing because we were truly our age. There wasn't the kind of pretend I'm 13. So it became 2 more days, and then it became a summer storyline, and then it became another summer storyline. Trisha Cast came on, who was so good, and I was like, oh, geez, I better get better quick, or I'm just going to sink here. Tom Beards came on, and the 3 of us started, and then it slowly built. But when Bold and Beautiful started, we had to make the move out here, which
that's right.
I was thrilled about.
Oh, you were thrilled?
I was thrilled. My brother was thrilled. And, the only sadness as I am now a mother myself is I look back and we said, "Mom, we're moving to LA." And, she has this huge career in Chicago. And the biggest sweetheart in the world, just said, okay, we're moving.
And she quit?
She quit. And
How was that for her?
Well, like the gracious person she was,
For the family.
and I think back on it all the time. I feel terrible. If I could go back and say, oh my gosh, we never really said, what do you think about this?
Yeah, right. Could she work out here or not, or just
It was a local
amazing
show.
woman?
WBBM Chicago. I mean, just
Wow.
so,
That's
I mean, she was
beautiful.
excited for my father. They were a team. He used so many of the things she did, social issues back in Chicago, onto the soap. So she was kind of a part of that. But, I just think we're all jumping up and down. We're moving. And I just think she was like, what will my life look like there?
And how did it look?
It was tough for her at the
Oh, it
beginning.
was?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, she masked it pretty well, but you could tell it was like, my girlfriends are back there. It was again exciting for my father, exciting for me. My brother was starting to train under my dad out of college, and I think she sat happily in her office, but needed to find where's my place in all of this. And she helped him a lot. I mean, they again were such a team. But what I love more than ever is that she really found her happiness where I find my happiness, where you find your happiness, in terms of being able to thank the fans on a more direct level. So she would see the open up fan mail, and she would call people and be like, "I just want to thank you for watching," and I want.
She would?
Yeah. That was, and it was that's all what that's my biggest thing. We can't thank the fans enough. They're the reason we're
Wow.
here. So I'd go into her office, and she'd have a pile of who she was going to call that day, and that was pretty great. So
You're making me emotional.
Yeah, I mean, the fans are everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your mom being such a. Paula will do that in a second, but Paula didn't have a career. It's tough to let go of that career, and think have to act like it's all good. It's all good.
I know. And she did. She faked it, and I don't. And it's not any less of not totally loving being out here. It's just she didn't know what her day would look like. It
Yeah.
was so routine.
Yeah.
She would wait for me to get on the bus, race over to, at that point, Saks Fifth Avenue that had a beauty salon in it, get her hair done, be prepped with her cards, say her show.
Yeah, that's
Told what she's going to do the next day, be at home for us to help with homework, and then try and read a book that night for her guests the next day. And it was just so routine. Yeah.
So you come out.
Yeah.
You're a star now, or not yet?
Well, that's so sweet. I mean,
You were. Look, all I remember from Y&R, honestly, I'm not bullshitting, especially young, is you,
yeah,
Eric Braden,
of course, Eric, Jeannie.
but not a whole lot. But I just remember you. I don't know what's going on. So how old were you at that point when you moved to LA?
17.
Oh, you're 17. So you got
17 in LA.
no,
but I would go to work every day, really.
But you were on a hit show.
Yeah.
You were probably number one forever. But still, you were number one, and you had a contract.
I had a contract. Yeah.
Dang.
So the rule was, first of all, I mean, it's like another.
I
thing.
love this stuff,
Yeah.
man. I'm like a fan.
Well,
It's great.
I would try to go to the studio and never introduce myself with my last name, because my goal was, I'm going to come to work every day. I will never complain about anything. I will know my lines. I will do the best I can, and I will go home and I will do study. And so I always wanted that chance for someone to know me first before anyone would be like, hey, that's the boss's daughter.
Right.
Because it's hard. It's like,
Is that extra pressure?
well, so yeah,
to live up to, or to, you know?
I mean, my dad worked on the 3rd floor and we were on the 1st, and he rarely came down. Ed Scott was my boss, really, who was married to Melody.
Yeah.
But is it pressure? I mean, it's just, you know, this is what always would sort of get me. Like, and I understood it. So I think that's what got me through it. But like, if you're a lawyer and your son or daughter is going to become a lawyer, everyone's like, oh, that's so great. They're following in your footsteps. If you're a doctor, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
And then, you know, your daughter's going to be in the entertainment business just like your father. Like, oh, sure.
Oh,
sure.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I got that. Like, if I were like, why are they saying stuff like that? Then I could understand. But I understood it. And, you know, so I think that helped me through. I also just, I just wanted to be treated. I wasn't ever going to run and tell anyone, I heard this happen. You know, like, I wanted to be one of the gang.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I did everything I could to separate. And I'm sure my dad was like, be proud of who you are or whatever. But I was like, no, I am proud of who I am. And I'm so proud of my parents. Like, again, as I got older, I was just like, oh my God, they are rock stars. Like, the fact that he can.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
And then second
his mind is unfreaking real.
Yeah. So yeah, I it worked out fine, and everyone started to know that you can trust me. You can say, oh, the script today is like crap. Like, I'm not going to say anything.
No.
Maybe I agree with you.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean.
Yeah. Now, if let's say the script wasn't great, could you say, hey, Dad, the script's not happening. You know, I just don't like it.
So I think, you know, that was sort of falling in the part of the I'm going to be just like everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
When I would go there on Sundays and hang out with them, we never talked about the show.
Damn.
One time do I remember him saying, okay, listen, because Michelle Stafford was coming on or was just on, and he said, you know, hey, honey, yeah. Like, this week you're going to have a scene, and you got to really give it back to her. Like, she's going to come at you, and you gotta give it
That's
back.
the best.
And I was like, okay. Like, I thought it was, you know, I was like, okay, like we were just talking about like macaroni and cheese or whatever. But he just wanted to get that in before I
That's
left.
great.
And then I saw the scene and I was like, oh yeah, like she is going to come at me and like game on. Like this is my chance, because cricket was always so good. And so like did the right thing. And that was really hard, because I was like, oh, but just to be a little bad would be so fun.
Yeah.
So it was my chance. I mean, Phyllis coming in was like, here's your chance to like be a ball buster if you're ever going to be one, other than in the courtroom. But
Did you like the scene?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
And
good.
I
You felt you got it?
mean, I was finally old enough where I wasn't afraid. Like, I was afraid a lot at the beginning because I was working with a lot of older people. I knew that I wasn't, like, I knew that I was learning on the job. I knew that I had to get better quick.
I know people think I just say this, but I was scared all the time. And I don't know if it's mental illness, but I just learned how to use that fear and nerves.
Came through.
Yeah.
Yeah, came through.
But I only started having fun acting last couple of years.
Yeah.
Never really had fun. It was, I mean, I felt that I could kick ass.
Right. And yes, that is correct.
Right. But I didn't feel like this is fun until recently.
Yeah.
So, like friends and stuff, and did you party or anything when you were in LA, or because you were on the show?
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was on the show, you know, a lot. So I would, even a girlfriend that I'm seeing tonight, I would go out with them and I'd always have a great time. But around, you know, 9:30 or something, I'd be like, hey, I got to go. I've got like 30 pages at 6 o'clock tomorrow. And they were like, what? And I think they got a little tired of me, like, I have to work. But I loved it. I loved working. I loved the challenge of like trying to stuff that lineage in my brain. And so when I go
you're
out,
responsible.
yeah, I was. Oh, I did
Completely.
not. I did not want to like hold up production because I didn't know
for
my
you.
line. And then when I started to have to be a lawyer, like that's hard. I mean, oh man, like careful what you wish for.
A lawyer?
And then like, you know, really try to say these cross examinations and these opening and closing statements without people thinking 100% like, oh no,
I love
she's a
that.
lawyer. She's a lawyer.
I always wanted to play a lawyer.
Christian.
You're out of order. You're out of order.
Yes.
The whole fucking place is out of order.
Yeah. No, Christian and I would literally
I love
hang on to each
Christian,
other
man.
for dear life. He and I, the whole entire cast is sitting back in like the, where they're watching the whole court thing. They've got their magazines. Everyone's got candy under their seats. And he and I have 40 pages that day. And one of like in an opening statement, which is like five pages straight. And, he and I were just like, you get yours and I'll get mine. Like, it's deal. And just the fear of that. But then when we wrapped that day, the drive home of me like blasting music,
great,
being
yeah.
like, yeah. I mean, it was like a total like actor's high. Like that was crazy. Like that how did that just happen today? And it's going on national TV. It's just like silly.
He's good.
He's so good. Yeah. Yeah. You just never know what you're gonna get. That was so fun. I mean, we would be like, they're the same lines. We just did this scene completely different.
You're right.
I love like that to me when people are like, what's something that like excites you? I'm like, when I do a scene and then someone gives us a note and it's the exact same lines, but it's completely different.
Yeah.
Like I picked with the pace, we made it angrier and then we made it happier. Like it's just, that's like a rush.
And now you're back.
I'm back. With Michael.
How do you feel?
I've
coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I sort
I
of
know
have
but
But I mean, what's so great about this is like we have these incredible fans that in the 80s and 90s were teenagers with us that like fell in love with Danny and Cricket. Like this, they all wanted to be the rock star's girlfriend. And so and Michael would perform on weekends, concerts, and he was in Tiger Beat. So, the posters were on the wall and so they were so sad when we broke up. And now here 30 years later,
dang.
they're like, we've been waiting for this. And, our mom, like when she saw a hint of it a year ago, like she was sick and I was still watching with her every day. And she was like, oh, I hope I can live to see if they're going to like get back together. Like just
That's
things like
amazing,
that.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's why these
yeah.
fans, I mean,
And
I don't even like to say fans. I like to say viewing.
I know, I don't like to say
viewing family or because
or
like
audience.
yes, or like because it's my hashtag with everybody is there's no us without you
Yeah.
because
I obviously that's some people don't feel that way, but I do.
yeah, me
So he did the I'm trying to get him on State of Mind, but because I love the song "Rock On," right? Didn't he?
yeah, and we just went on Bold and Beautiful over the summer because the Foresters were wanting to do a collab with Danny, and Danny and Michael redid Rock On. So he sang it on Bold and
he
Beautiful.
did?
And oh my gosh, it like to see this Forester family like all there.
Yeah.
It was so fun and so great.
When did
And
he do that?
we did it in July.
I
It was
missed
so fun.
I'd like to see that.
yeah.
Because what are they called? The Players. Remember
With Ron Moss, yeah.
they came on
my
our show and
God.
did that one song,
great.
the great song.
Yep.
So your dad died of Alzheimer's. My dad died of Alzheimer's.
I know. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to you. It's tough.
Oh.
Now, did he, like my dad, the beauty about my dad, especially from my mom, is he didn't suffer because he got pancreatic cancer in his liver, so that killed him real fast.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to go through that Alzheimer's. Did you have to go through a lot of that? Or?
Well, first, what no one really, maybe some people have seen clips about my dad, and I guess he was talking about like, accepting a speech or like saying a speech. He was the funniest guy ever.
Really?
I mean, we're not really getting to how funny I am in this interview, but like I got it from him. I'm a jokester, like 100%.
Yeah.
I'm very dry. I'm rarely serious. Unless I have to be. But he was a fun guy and appreciated everything, easy to please. Like he'd have a healthy choice frozen dinner and be like, come here. This is the best chicken teriyaki I've ever had. Come and try this.
That's great.
Like no matter what it was, positive. Right. So we also were fortunate. He didn't have another disease, but he, as soon as the dementia, like they were also very it was 20 years ago. So the terminology was like, I don't know if they weren't wanting to say Alzheimer's because that sounded worse, or we just were hearing a lot of dementia, early stages of dementia. And also, mind you, he had to remember Y&R cast, real name and character name, and then Bold and Beautiful. Like, he had so many names, and he had so much scramble in his brain.
Yeah.
I like think about just he would be terrified to go to like a cast party because he would try so hard to call everyone by their real name, but he would, yeah, right. And we don't care. Call us anything you want. But he, when he started to get sick, he went silent, and he would, for months, he didn't say a word. But he smiled. So like a huge gift to us was I never saw him. He was never angry. He was never. Now I know my mom had to deal with him waking up in the middle of the night and getting dressed and walking out the door. Taking the car keys, I remember, was not a good day. But other than that, he would kind of have a little bit of a blank stare and would be led around. And but he didn't say much or anything really, but he smiled.
He just stayed silent.
He stayed smiling.
But you can tell he was, because of the smile.
You can see it in his eyes that, like, he would be with us sitting there, but you just couldn't tell. Like, I can look at pictures of their 50th wedding anniversary. It was just kids, spouses, some grandkids, and he was sitting there, and they were holding a picture of themselves and having a cake, but just it was kind of a like a glassy, but there, and not putting up a fight, and not nervous. I don't know where I am, or who are you, weirdos.
Interesting.
But so I think that was a real gift that he went fairly fast. But prior to that, he would just watch movies all day, and I'm a big believer in even if you're going to retire, like, have busy work, or
You have to, man.
we shouldn't have. He came to the studio a bunch and would sit and watch, but
It's tough, yeah.
there should have been a little bit more, like, even if
busyness.
or like pretend you're coming up with a story, even if it's not being used, like something, But I think it did get to the point where it was a little scary because he wasn't exactly sure who he was talking about,
Yeah.
So I don't know. In retrospect, I don't know how we would have done it differently. He was happy watching these movies, and I think watching old movies was very comforting to him because, sometimes things from the past and songs. It's incredible to see some videos where people who are suffering don't remember anything, but you put on, a Frank Sinatra song and they belt it out. It's crazy. It's
That's what my
amazing.
dad was too.
Yeah.
Frank Sinatra or Que viva la música! And he would be like, he would be dancing at his old, because he loved to dance,
It's hard. It's just, life's crazy. It's just.
So I could talk to you forever. But I do want to mention, do you have any connection or anything to mental health, since it is state of mind?
Yeah, no, I know. Well, I mean, when I'm not working, and I just, because when you have kids, they never want to be specific, but like, it's not easy raising young people in this world. So I feel like my parents, who were super, super positive, and I'm super, super positive, like, have been able to carry that over every day with, like, my son was saying the other day in a text, I love that you're my last text at night encouraging me about today, and I appreciate that when I wake up, you're my first. Like, I'm their cheerleader,
Oh, that's sweet.
Like, you're gonna get through this, and like, there's, because they speak, and when we were young, it was like, yeah, I'm having a bummer of a day, and now they're like talking about their anxiety level, and then the fires, and then COVID, and then the political situation. Like, it's so much, and I keep trying to say, like, just hang in there. Like, it's like, it's going to get better. And sometimes I get that look, like, is it? Because, like, I don't know. And so even though they're in their early 20s, I feel like
they're in their 20s.
My biggest job is, my mother-in-law said, the hardest job on the planet is turning a boy into a man. And, I just, what I learned also is that around the area that we were with our kids going to schools, when they had to go into the next school, it just made it seem like, well, you have to get into these 4 schools. I mean, you have to.
That kind of pressure, yeah.
And what I realized in that, which I will always like try and give the advice to any younger castmates who have kids, I'm like, hey, there are a ton of great schools out there. Do not let people think that your kid isn't, with it or this or that because you didn't get into that school. There's a school for everyone. And you know what? Trust that process, because maybe your kid didn't get into that school for a reason. And don't look at it, and don't have your kid look at it as like, all my friends are going here, I'm not going here. Why am I not going there? What didn't I, It's okay. That to me is I feel that there's so much sadness for kids with expectations about what everyone else is doing or what we're told is the next step for you.
Yeah.
Figure, it's like maybe the new step is now you're going to have a couple of people going, oh, I didn't know that step was available.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'd like that because I don't have to be, everything to everyone. Like, it's hard when kids are like not school people and then they get out of school and then they're supposed to go home and do 4 hours of homework.
Yeah. And you're going to get me started on this one. There's no need to add any more than what young people have.
Yeah.
Okay? Because what happens is, I was talking about this today. What parents do to young kids, they can wash their hands. We're the ones who suffer and continue to suffer at 62 because of what happened at 8 years old.
Yep.
And my shit hasn't stopped. Hopefully now, with the help I'm getting, it has. But we have to be very careful. Exactly what you're saying, how you're saying it is exactly what I'm talking about. There's no need to add any more pressure, any more of this. Let them be.
Yeah.
Because, well, not everybody's mentally ill, but being mentally ill it just gets worse as you get older.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until you figure out where it came from, why, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I mean,
LAURALEE!
I'm telling you, it's so when everyone says, "Oh, you had a couple weeks off. What did you do?" I'm like, "What did I do? I just trying to motivate and reassure." And I have a girlfriend who's going through a divorce. I'm like, "Come on to my I'll add you to my morning." Everyone gets their own text, but I am like, I want to be like, you're going to be okay. Like, maybe that wasn't your path. My new saying, everyone, what would be your book title? I've never thought of that. Now I'm like, trust life's path. Trust life's path, because, what else can you do? And I spend so much time worrying about, what if he doesn't know this tomorrow? What if he doesn't do well? And what if she, or what if, what if the show ends? Like all these things. And it's like, just keep going and find some. I just keep trying to find a passion and find what makes you smile. Go outside and look at the sky.
Yeah.
And there are things around us that. That's why I'm so I feel when people are like, our soap's going to end. I feel like because of since COVID and just with all the enormous amount of stuff in the world, that coming back to what you can guarantee, we're going to be there for you every day, as long as you guys tune in and the networks are, as long as we're one cohesive team.
Yeah.
There's something so comforting about being in your home. And if you watched a certain something when you were growing up, and that's part of just the background noise, or whether you're fully engulfed, whatever, that we're still there for you. And 175 choices, I don't want that. I want to know that GH and YNR and B&B and Days, I want to know that there and Beyond the Gates are on. And they're going to be there for me every day. And when they're not on, it's the weekend. I'm going to have some fun on my weekend, and then I'm going to get back to it. Like, I'm a strong believer in surrounding yourself with things that comfort you.
Yeah.
Dogs, blankets, cozies. I'm
The
always
simple
like
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and I love that on our shows, you know, a good, massive portion of the cast are the same people that were there when we started.
Yeah. Ours
a
is
lot of
kind of.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just
Losing
to
it.
me, yours is
Yes.
so comforting. And like,
Yes.
when Steve was back, you know, Steve came on our show, and it was like such a treat. And then to see him back with you guys, like, it's just there's just something so wonderful about that.
It is like a family. It really is. And it's the greatest job in the world is a soap job. There's no better job.
100%. Be home for
I've done
dinner.
other things, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why did I take this? Get me out of here.
Yeah.
All right, listen. I'm going to talk to the audience
Okay. Thank you.
because, first of all, I want to say this was if the audience feels the way I did just listening to LAURALEE, it was amazing because I was truly, like I said to her, I felt like a fan, just looking at her and listening to all the stories and the way she tells them. And then at the end, we took a turn and got into some deep stuff, and that's the kind of state of mind I love, where it goes bam, 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 and then all of a sudden, boom, deep, great. I didn't know what to expect, but I will say this, it was so much better. I just don't understand why it was so amazing. No. But anyway, it was, and I appreciate you coming. And it's interesting how I have a connection with you. I felt a connection. We've never met or anything, but it was there, and it doesn't happen a lot. It happens, but it doesn't happen a lot. Thank you. State of mind. See you later.